me to, then that's fine. But it helps fund and support this YouTube channel. Just booking one 30-minute session today will help fund and support this channel for an entire 24 hours. Yes, a whole day. That's how much your money goes to helping this channel out. So thank you so much for that. Alright, so I have a lot to talk about in this video. First of all, to address that camping huge shopping haul video, a lot of that stuff I had already purchased long ago. Like, I used to be a prepper, and people say, oh, you know, you're not much of a prepper because you're packing. Basically, I packed like a blonde girl first time camping, like that, like a rich spoiled blonde girl in Hollywood, and it was her first time camping. That's how I packed my stuff. I was a little stressed because it was my first camping trip alone, and like to go in a long time. You know, I haven't been in a year and a half, and I felt like so unprepared because last time I was going because someone else was helping me do everything, you know, and I didn't do jack squat, you know, so it was like I was well taken care of at the time, and then so now to kind of do it on my own as a kind of like survival thing. And yes, I'm not a prepper. That's right, I'm not a prepper anymore. I used to be, but not anymore. So I didn't have enough time to learn that much about prepping to begin with to be able to haul all my crap in one hiking bag. I didn't even have a hiking bag, first of all. So I wish I did. I wish I did just pack one of everything. Not a lot of people also said there were duplicates of everything. That I had to bring this first aid kit with different kind of material. And if I didn't mention it, I'm sorry for some of the other things, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it for some of the duplicates. Why I brought a duplicate? Because not everything could fit in one first aid kit, and there are different types of first aid kits, you see. And yes, although you may seem it unnecessary when you go alone somewhere on your own for the first time and you don't know what to expect, you need to come prepared. Like ticks, you need tweezers. First aid, you need like everything from bandages. I don't know what would have happened there. There was no one there to help me. It got dark early because of daylight savings time ending, so I had to be on my own. So I said, you know what, with the mindset of preparing, you better bring one of everything so that you come prepared. So that's why I got a lot of duplicates. I was like 2 lanterns. If one battery runs out and dies, I need another lantern. Did I have a good time? I'm gonna be honest, no, I did not have a good time at all, and I'll get to it now. So, basically, I started off this trip prepared, as you could tell. And so I went, and actually I was packing for days before just to make sure I was prepared enough. And I went and drove to the north entrance of the park to make sure there was parking, you know, that I could get in. And at the time there was a fence or a gate open there, and where you could actually get in. It's wide enough to even get in with a car, although you're not allowed to go with a car through the trail, right? But then when I went there the actual day of, they closed it. So I was like, oh my god, how am I going to enter the park now with my wagon and carry all my stuff? But thankfully they had a little like sliver of area to access, and it was wide enough to fit like a person with their wagon and their things. But then they had a stupid plank on the bottom of it, so you had to kind of go over the wooden plank and lift the heavy stuff. So, you know, just you can imagine how hard that was. So I had to unpack everything, put all my stuff one by one back from the car to the entrance and back again, and then put it on the wagon and then go, you know. So, and then I had the wagon and the cooler full of stuff. So let me not backtrack too much, or get ahead of myself too much. Let me backtrack a bit. So I went to the store, obviously, to get like food, water, snacks, ice, and I had to get like 3 bags of ice. I'm like, I want to be prepared, right? There's me being duplicate again, okay? Look at my duplicate stuff, one of everything. You know, there are different kinds of preppers. You have to respect that. There's the preppers who bring They're minimalistic preppers who bring little, as much as possible, but just enough to survive. No, honey, I'm the duplicate. I'm like double of everything because you never know when you need it. That's what prepping is about to me, is preparing and making sure you're ready and having everything you need. Not because you're gonna get caught with your pants down, literally, if you need those things and you don't have them. So yeah, so that was my mindset. But then I realized, oh my god, this trail. Okay, let me get into it. So yeah, I bought all this stuff, went in my car, but I didn't even take the ice out, and you never should if you want your ice to last longer. Just put the bags of ice in the cooler. Don't rip the plastic out. You're gonna mess up big time when you realize your ice is all gone by the next day. And actually, my ice was still there, partly melted, but still there when I got back home, 2 days later. So yeah, that was useful. So 3 bags of ice will fit in your cooler, just letting you know. Yeah, buy 3. Don't just buy 2 or 1. Alright, but anyway. So it was very hot. It was like 86, 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That does not count the feels like temp, which was over 90. So I'm leaving the car, and by the time I even put everything in the wagon and get it over the fence, I'm literally already sweating. And I'm like, oh my god. And I thought I had like 2.5 miles of walking. Child, it ended up being 3 miles. 3. And I first enter, I'm like, alright, this isn't too bad. And then it starts getting rough terrain. The terrain began getting rough and bumpy and sandy, which even with the beach wagon, sand is very hard to go over, especially with a wagon full of stuff that's probably like over 100 pounds. So I'm praying that the handle doesn't break, because if it does, I had to call emergency services to pick me up or something, the rangers to come pick me up with their golf cart, cause I'm sure we didn't have to. I wish I saw a camp ranger. I was all alone. I'll get into that. So this trip, let me tell you something. I felt a little anxiety at first, but then I was kind of calm, cool, and collected. I put my cap on, and then I'm like, okay, this is starting to get not only really heavy, but the stuff I was having over my back, like the green bag, that we strap around your shoulder and stuff, that was weighing me down a lot, along with like the camp chair. So I ended up putting the camp chair on the wagon. And then I was carrying the pillow too. I had to put the pillow, and then I thankfully bought that strap, right? It's a very good strap, and it's sturdy, and I tightened it all around, and that made everything stop falling, because the things kept falling. And then I didn't realize until later, my pillow was missing. See, that's why you should bring 2 of everything. It fell off, and I didn't notice it while looking back, checking every few seconds or so to see if something fell, because it was sand-colored bed sheet, and it blended with the sand below. So at a distance, I must have not seen it. So yeah, buy dramatic color pillow sheets when you go camping. Lesson learned. But yeah, it sucks because that was a good pillow. But anyway, so unfortunately, I couldn't carry my second tent, so I had to go and drop it back off to the car, and then come back. And then thankfully, I wasn't too far when I did that. But I kept proceeding, and every time, thankfully, there was service, but sometimes it was shoddy. So I would look and check where in the trail I am. And there's some areas of the park that they didn't update the map to where I guess the new trail would be. Oh, so there were intersections that was so confusing. Like, I literally got lost on the way back. I'll get to that. But would say like this is the North Trail and then this is the Slash Trail, and I'm like, but this is the North Trail, not the Slash Trail. So I'm like, oh, like there was one intersection with 5 different possible routes, and I had to go like drop the wagon off, walk to one, see where I'm walking on the map to see if that was the right one, and then it was the wrong one, and even though it was the right one on the map, like weird, right? And then anyway, so I had to trial and error until I found my way, and again, no one's there. It's a huge park, like 3 miles deep. So yeah, I've started to freak out when I was like about 3/4 of the mile there. I mean, sorry, 3/4 of the way there, like 2.5 miles in. When I started feeling very weak, a little nauseous, and I was obviously drinking water, but maybe not enough. And I wanted to ration the water because, you know, I can only carry so much. I didn't get a 24 bottle for one day, right? And I know some of you are like, oh, you're just going for one day. You don't need this much stuff. Yeah, I get it now. I didn't even use half my stuff, literally. You're right. I didn't have time to. It went by so fast. So, next time I know. But yeah, there won't be a next time, let's be honest, unless I really go with someone again or some people. I'll travel more lightly. But yeah. So this was an experience, though. It definitely, I think, toughened me up. And hey, I got a little muscles, thankfully. So hey, it's all good, you know. I think people immediately pinpoint the negative, but they don't look at the positive aspect. Like, you know, I went there for a retreat. That was my reason for going, you know, to relax and to be in nature. And it's very healing. It's very healing even to sleep in nature. I don't know if you knew that, but anyway. It's weird at first, but it like resets your mind somehow, and to stay off my phone, you know, help heal my eyes and all that stuff. So it was all a plus for me, a bonus, a benefit. And so basically I started kind of shaking a little bit, and I thought I needed food, but I wasn't hungry. And then so I just kept going, kept drinking water, and I definitely was going a lot slower, trotting along. Until I got to this last 500 feet, and I'm telling you, the last 500 feet were the sandy paths of HE double hockey sticks. Let me tell you, I never want to do that again. They carved out the paths to make them kind of like clear, you know, like they raked them so it looks like a Zen garden, right? It's like a very sandy clear path, but hell to walk on. Very bumpy. Like, I mean, not good for this wagon. These wheels, I'm telling you, you need some big freaking wheels for this. And so, I had to drag it slowly, one by one by one. Ooh, that was hard. And when you're already weak and tired, I literally dropped the handle. I broke down, guys. I had a panic attack, a full-blown one. I started to almost cry, but I couldn't cry. I was like, I was breathing deep. I was like apologizing to myself. I was like, oh my God, like, why did I decide to do this? You know, it was really scary. I was probably pale. And I kind of started to pray and like keep my calm and collect myself. And then I realized like there was nothing to freak out. I'm almost there, and before I knew it, I had the strength and courage to cross the sandy path, and I made it, and I got to the campground finally by the river, and I was so happy to be there, but at the same time, it wasn't worth it. So and it all looked too familiar, because I was there once before. But last time I went by kayak on the river, so that was a little easier, to be honest, because you're just sitting there. And you can rest anytime, because you're always moving while you rest. It's always floating forward, so that was easy. But, so in total it was about 2 hours of hell, walking, dragging. And I found the best way is not to drag the wagon on the right side or the left hand, like this, just holding on the left hand. It's not. Also, I tried walking it like backwards, like facing the wagon and pulling it and walking backwards. The best route was facing forward, walking forward, holding both my hands behind my back and dragging the wagon like that. I felt like a horse, but that was the easiest way, so that actually helped me out a lot. So yeah, so I made it, and then I was in a hurry because I was stressing because it was getting dark, and that's where my anxiety was, you know? It wasn't about, like, how hard it was making it before dark, putting up the fire, cooking food, setting up the tent, and the queen bed inside the tent, and all my belongings to be out so I can see them at night without having to rumble through my stuff. So I laid everything out on the picnic table, all of that. I was in such a hurry. I didn't even really get to enjoy the first night at all. Like, it got dark so fast because I made it by about 4:30, and then it already got dark by like 5:30 because I don't know if you know, but in the forest it gets dark faster because the sun, even if the sun sets, it's already like almost pitch black in the forest. It's very dark because the trees cover the sun, you know, so yeah, when you're deep in the woods, obviously. So yeah, so it was all set up, and the only thing that was missing was the stove. This is why you have to be prepared. There was a stove last time where you could put charcoal in, and there was no stove. So thankfully I brought my collapsible stove. You know, again, a lot of people deemed what I brought unnecessary, but guess what? You always have to be prepared or you're screwed. So I didn't actually end up using it because I also got the propane burner. So hey, there you go. You know, hey, what if it wasn't working? What if I got a faulty propane tank, or what if just a faulty burner? You know, it happens, yo. So I just wanted to be prepared. To make my travel bag lighter, I ended up dumping the charcoal in the fire pit, which is okay. People do it all the time. And, you know, someone might need to use it, so there you go. But that's that, guys. So anyway, let's move on. So I set up the propane tank. My first time doing it. I never used a propane burner ever. Always had someone do it for me. I was watching people do it growing up. I was confused how it works. Now I know it's pretty freaking easy, but I always had a fear of like the propane tank exploding. That always freaked me out, you know, so I was very careful with it to do it the right way, and it was so much fun. And honestly, you cook things a lot faster on a propane burner. But does propane run out fast? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, now I think I drained over half my tank. Like it was pretty light by the time I was done with it. So I ended up putting a frying pan, and then I had like some bought pre-made like chicken alfredo pasta, which I love. That's like my travel food. Like I love that. I don't know. And then I put it on the pan, and it was just one of those ready to eat. You heat and eat, and did that for like 3-4 minutes, and yeah, that was fun. And then I warmed myself some tea over the propane, and that calmed me down, you know. Chamomile lavender tea really relaxed me. And then basically I didn't set up the fire until later. I first put up like quickly like branches, the tinder under it. I put the fire starter fluid. The fire log was in there too, obviously. And guess what, guys? Why you always need to be prepared. Something told me in the store the day of my trip to buy an extra fire log, and I was like, why? Y'all, I forgot my 3 fire logs in the bottom of my trunk. So thankfully I brought that 1 fire log extra. So there you go. Because there's a lot to plan and prepare, and I couldn't fit everything in my car that way. And I didn't want the smell of the fire logs to hit me in the car. So like I just thought putting it under my, like there's a trunk, and then there's like under the trunk like a cover that I have, and I put it in there so it doesn't smell. So there you go. I was planning to use like 4 logs because I thought, you know, the night is long now that it gets darker earlier, and I need see. So, but yeah, I ended up being okay with just one log. And just keep dumping like pine cones, more tinder, more branches. Yeah, and thankfully this time, they didn't have that last time, but they had like huge logs from the trees and branches and stuff next to the fire pit. So like if people need to use it, that was great because they had some branches. I didn't have to walk too far in the night. But everything, like I had to prepare the lantern fast, the flashlight, put the batteries in, fast, just like do all of that. And yeah, there was really no time to enjoy it all. I set up the tent. That took a bit of time to figure out because it was a new tent, but I figured it out. And then put in the queen bed. Thankfully, the queen bed plugged into the USB charger and worked. Like actually was enough power capability. It was very slow, but it worked. And it filled it up, and I still had juice to charge my phone. It was also draining battery, but I made sure not to use my phone really at all. Just to text family, that was okay. That's about it. I mean, no one besides you guys really knew that I was going, so who would know? Like, I don't really have like people like that to text, So basically, I put the blankets over it, and yes, it was cold. A lot of people laughed. When I say a lot of people, I mean one person laughed at me for bringing like fat blankets, like 3 blankets. I'm glad I did, because I was cold. Like, I am skinny, I get cold easily. 60 degrees is chill. 70 degrees is cold to me. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, what's wrong? No. It was cold. By the morning, I was like, ooh, like the damn cold by the river. Ooh. I think the feels like must have been like 58 or something. Oh my god. No. I keep it 79 in my house. Like, no, you have no idea. 70 below is cold. So, yeah. Basically, I put one blanket on the mattress as a bed sheet, and then I put another blanket on top. But guess what? Because I lost my pillow. The third blanket was my pillow, honey. Always come prepared. So, and it was actually a decent pillow. I'm gonna be honest, you roll up a good fat blanket, that's your pillow, honey, okay, if you need it. So, yeah, I'm telling you, God was watching my back on this trip because it was a hot mess. So, yeah, and then, I put up the fire, it started, thankfully it took a little bit of time at first, and I was freaking out, like, oh my god, what if it doesn't work? But then I put more tinder quickly, and it started to heat up, and it was a big fire. And so, yeah, I'm glad that worked. And I was like, oh, maybe I should use all these branches here and make a huge bonfire, but like, let me not start a forest fire. So I didn't. It was actually still pretty big, but it was not like enormous, right? Those are more for like parties of 10 plus. Anyway, so yeah. So this campground had this like pier. It's a long pier in the water, so I was like hanging out there a bit. I don't regret going, but it was just like a spontaneous planned trip. Like I was like, I just need to get away, and just, yeah, I have a lot of times when I get away, I just have like 1 day, 2 day, that's about it. Like I don't do, I'm not, no, I don't go alone on long trips. That's crazy to me. It has to be with someone else. It already gives me enough anxiety to go alone somewhere, so it's like, nope, no thank you, no thank you. So anyway, let's continue, guys. Apologies for that. So, yeah, where was I? So everything's set up. I put the string lights on the tent, and I was picking up pine cones in a plastic bag to keep for the fire. And like on the way walking back, I kind of felt lost. I went like on a different yeah, I knew that there couldn't have been anyone else there because there's no one for miles, you know. It's such a big park. So yeah, I'm very well hidden, you know. It was impossible for anyone to get there, even in the night. The path is too rough, and you would just get lost, and there's just no way someone could ever get there. So, there was one guy and a girl, I guess on a mini boat, who stopped and docked at the pier, and I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, not another freaking person coming here when clearly there's a reservation. But thankfully they stopped there, I guess, just to check something, and then they left. So yeah, that was good. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but almost 2 years ago, there was a bunch of drunk people on a boat, and they stopped and they thought they could party there, and were like, hey, no, you can't be here. We reserved the spot, we paid money, so they left. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't want that to be another incident. So basically, then after that I started the fire, so I'm going working forward and then backward here. Going to the restroom was easier than I thought. I thought, how am I gonna kneel with sore knees and legs? Guys, everything was sore. My feet, my hands, my wrists, my arms, my elbows, my calves, my thighs, my chest, my back, my neck, my head. Oh, it was a workout. And the first thing I did when I got there, I forgot to mention, is take off everything, use those wipes, change into new clothes, put on bug spray. I felt amazing. The bugs left me alone. I felt clean. I was like, yes, I felt so good. And then I cooked and did all that. So yeah, anyway, so the fire's going, and it's going, and I'm keeping it warm. I've set up my camp chair, and it's all good. And I start hearing the crickets, and I see the moon and the stars. The moon was a perfect U, and then there was a star next to it. It was so beautiful. It was perfect night for me. And yeah, it was actually pretty warm, I'm not gonna lie. It was humid in the tent. So I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna have a blanket now. But then I knew in 3-4 hours it would get cold enough, and it did. And it got really cold to the point I had to wear my jacket and long pants, you know. And I even considered my long sleeves, but I knew I had to keep them for tomorrow when I came back. So I was fine, but it was chilly, and I had to stay warm by the fire. So and it's different cold when, again, you're staying outside for long periods of time. 60 degrees is not a big deal if you're out there for 15 minutes, but if you're out there for 5 hours plus, yes, it's a big deal. And you will, my bones, my right leg immediately got me. That's my leg. Tony, it's too cold. That leg starts to hurt, get sore like crazy, and it did when I went to bed. So once the fire died down, I made sure it died down and there was no more smoke. I was still smoking a bit, but that's okay, you know. My tent was far enough and the wind was blowing it that way that it's not a big deal. It was just glowing little ash, like how you have glowing charcoal, that kind of ash. So I knew I kind of poked at it a few times, so it really, died down as much as it could. And I didn't want to waste my water on it, but I knew I had to turn it off the next morning if it still was like that, and it wasn't. It was totally dead and off, because overnight was really cold and wet from the dew, and the dew definitely turned it off. So all my stuff was layered with water, like dew, everything was wet. I had to wipe everything down, and I'm like, oh boy, yeah, there goes my stomach thinking about it. I had to go to the bathroom, and the big bathroom, you know what I'm saying, and so there was no bathroom there, so yeah, I had to find a way. But yeah, that was easy. And then of course, I don't know why, I forgot my toilet paper. Maybe it fell off as well, so this is why I brought towel paper. See, this is why you need to bring doubles. This is why you need to be prepared, guys. I'm sorry, it's true, you know. There are no leaves there. This is Florida. There are only dead palms, and that are sharp. Yeah, good luck wiping with that. No, there's no way. All the trees were very tall. Pine trees, 40 plus feet. I mean, in the air, very tall. So there's no leaves. what are you gonna rub with a pine cone? I mean, for goodness sake, guys. So yeah, always be prepared, and I had extra napkins in case that didn't work. So, but napkins were more for the eating, obviously. The tough part was in the night when my battery was like totally dead by the morning. I had to charge it quick in the morning to have enough juice. And I don't know something about my energy, but I drain batteries very fast. So there's that. Even in like new devices, like I have to keep charging my devices. Yeah, so that kind of like, weird feeling of being in the woods. There was something around like 3 in the morning for a whole hour walking like this, like all around me, like rustling. It sounded like footsteps, and it sounded like just a big animal. So I'm not gonna lie, that did give me a little bit of a fright. And I already couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep that whole night. Maybe a few minutes I must have got, and that's about it. Because that was just an experience, and that blanket was like that I use for my pillow started to get like, I gotta keep adjusting it. And it was like warm at first, so I didn't really need any blanket, and then it got cold, and I'm like, oh, I thought I didn't need this many clothes, and I ended up getting my jacket in the middle of the night to actually keep warm, So there's that. So the blankets weren't enough, and I kept like having to keep the tent closed, when it go in and out. I didn't want bugs, and I noticed when I looked up, my string lights attracted all these little bugs that somehow got in the net, and so I had to like dim my lantern to make sure it was like not attracting anything else, and but that was an experience. So I turned off the string lights overnight, obviously, and then like it was just pitch dark, and you could see a little bit of glow from the moon / stars, but that's about it. It was very dim, and yeah, you're out there, and yeah, I made sure I staked the tent good. There was a little bit of wind, so it freaked me out when I heard like a little bit of movement I saw in the tent. I actually liked my old tent better. It was like pretty much almost the same size as this one, which I don't know why it said it was 4 people. Like when I fit in there, I'm like, 2 people can barely fit in here. Are you kidding me? 4 people, really? But anyway, so that was weird, and it was very thin. I could tell it's like a thinner material than my last tent. So yeah, no wonder it got cold pretty freaking quickly. My tent, like even touching it on the inside, was soaked wet, like no insulation whatsoever. And so yeah, it's like you're sitting in a little cooler, like a little ice box, basically. You get that little sore throat feeling when you get too cold. You breathe too much cold air, so I was like trying to breathe in the blanket, but then I felt nauseous because it was like a very fat blanket and it was very hot, and I don't know, I get nauseous if I sleep a certain way now. So I'm like, I have to like adjust my head a certain way anyway. So I just sat there. I laid there basically, and just resting there is sometimes enough rest. You don't actually need to fall asleep. I learned it's like you just need to lay there and stay still, and that's your rest sometimes, some nights. And you're just kind of in your thoughts, and that's okay. I've had countless nights like that where I just can't sleep. I'm just there with my thoughts, and that it is what it is. And so, I think that's why I really nothing scares me that much anymore, is because the scariest thing is probably horrible thoughts at 4 in the morning. That's probably the worst. And then your stomach growls because you're hungry, but you're too lazy to get up because you're in bed and it's too cold, right? That sort of, and then you're sore all over because you just walked 3 miles, so overall, I'm not sure if this was quite the retreat I needed. I definitely will need a week off in a villa somewhere. That's the retreat I need. But this was nice because it kind of just detoxes you and resets you, and you get that kind of look, that hazy look in your eye when you come back to civilization, because you look very peaceful somehow. Because nature will just reset you, you know, and people need to get off their devices more, you know, we need to do that more often, for sure. I don't think we remind ourselves, hey, you know, put your phone away in the morning, you know, that kind of thing. And, yeah, so, in the morning, it was like, again, anxiety. Now I have to unpack everything I just packed a few hours ago. So, I'm not a morning person. I despise the mornings, pretty much. Mostly, especially if I'm like going somewhere like this. Like, oh my god, the feeling is atrocious. It's horrible. I never understood how people wake up and they feel good. I'm like, really? I just, it's like out of my universe. I don't see it. I don't understand it. It's beyond me. I'm like, another day on this hellish earth. Like, really? Okay. You know, that's how I see it. But anyway. So, yeah, there's some mornings you wake up and you're like, oh, you know it's another day and nothing can go wrong today because it's your day off. And it's like, you know that feeling when the sun shines and it's like, you feel like you're glowing inside. That's as far as I can go in terms of like enjoying my morning. But then when I'm like getting up, I'm like, oh, I have all this stuff to do, and oh, I have to, you know, feed the dog, and then water the plants, and then and it just gets overwhelming. And this way, the first hour of the morning, I never talk. Like, I can barely even look at a person. I'm like, I need to get this done in the first hour so I don't freak out and, you know, have to delay. So it's like, kind of like in the morning, the best way is just get things done right away as soon as you can. Give yourself some time if you need, of course. But, like, get it over with so then the rest of the day is easier. So that's why I more enjoy, like, the afternoons and nighttime. Is because, you know, I'm still doing stuff always here and there around the house or things I need to do or errands, but it's more enjoyable than first thing in the morning. Is always like, oh, I don't know how my day's gonna go, so I don't know. Like, I never understood morning people. I just, it's beyond me, really. But I guess that's because I enjoy the night more, I guess, you know, like, that's just who I am, and that's that, you know. But so I packed everything, you know, the tent got pretty dirty. I just put it in there, I shook it off as much as I could, you know, you can only be so clean and careful, and, you know, so probably never using that tent again. I mean, it just, like, you know, like, a lot of this was just one-off kind of stuff for the experience. But camping was, I think, more enjoyable last time, because again, you had someone to help you with, and they were a lot older, so it's like, you know, you felt like safe, you felt like someone was caring for you. But this was like me on my own, and that was hard for me, you know. So, but I liked it at the same time because I have control over what I'm doing, you know. I don't like when people touch my things or, like, move it around. Like, if I put it there, I want it there. Like, don't move it, don't touch it, you know. So, this way I'll never live with, like, a roommate. Like, that's not family, because I'm like, oh, like, I don't know, it's just, ugh. Anyway, so, yeah, I got my things together, and then, basically, I got out. I had to get out early. I got up like 6:30, and ate something. Still felt that, like, morning nausea, weak sickness because of the day before. I still felt tired, and even just thinking about how much more I had to go was draining for me. So it finally faded when I got my things together. I did forget my remote for the string lights, unfortunately. I think I left it on the picnic table. It's a tiny white remote, but other than that, I came back with all my stuff, thankfully. The walk back was actually easier, because now this time I was walking the sandy trail first rather than last. So I got over the hard part first, and I think ain't much muscle to it, but like that helped me. Okay, that helped me the day before, getting all the muscles trained, and then resting the night, and then kind of like doing it again the next day made it easier. So I could do the journey better. I went faster, and I did need to take a lot of breaks though for water, and I was in the mood for iced tea, so I poured some iced tea. Yes, I bought iced tea too, y'all. Okay. And it was delicious, and I poured it in my water bottle, and yeah, that was I didn't even end up using the water canteens. I totally just, it slipped my mind. You think I had time to read a book or do a Sudoku puzzle? No, hell no. Okay, I was in and out, and so yeah, next time I know for better. Would I have stayed an extra day? No, because all my ice would have been melted. And I'm just not good with like learning about the whole like dehydrated food, and like I'm very paranoid about food going bad. Like even it sitting in the cooler with ice, I was like, oh my god, it's not the same as a fridge or a freezer. I'm freaking out. It's gonna go bad. Like I didn't even eat my sausages or my canned soup, or like I'm not touching that. I'm gonna eat the food I bought that I know doesn't need a fridge, because yeah, we're not doing that. So yeah, I had the pasta with a salad, and then I had like an apple pie. Yes, I bought apple pie too. Y'all, I'm sorry, okay? No, I'm like, I don't even have an extra pot for it to warm the soup, and I need that pot for the tea tomorrow morning, because I don't have dish soap to clean it. So I'm like, I ended up messing up my frying pan. I couldn't clean it. I just kind of put it in a plastic bag and washed it when I got home. Yeah, guys, I don't think you realize how fast time is going. Like, there was no time for anything, okay? So, yeah. I got over the sandy part, walked along the trail. I went a wrong direction. I went down the wrong trail for probably, it was like about 500 feet. And I had to go all the way back. I ran back to see on the map if it was like the right way, and then I went back to the wagon, and I came back to the intersection, then back to the right way. And I'm really grateful. I kept looking at the map, because that was a big mess. It was hard to see that trail, because there was like two big paths you could have went on, and that's all you could see. And then there was a little discreet one between the trees you couldn't see. That was the one I should have went through. On the way to the campsite, you could see easily. On the way back, you couldn't see it easily, if that makes sense. So that messed me up. And I actually ended up seeing like a lady walking in the distance, and I was like, oh, that made me feel better, because it was like near one of their campsites, miles away. And I thought, oh, I could just follow behind her. Nah, I lost her. She went like left or right. I didn't even see her. She went back to her campsite. So I was like, oh crap, I'm on my own again. So, anyway, so yeah, and then I kept going, pausing, and then I kept going, and I keep telling myself to keep going. You know, it was hard though. And, you know, I didn't even want to play my music or anything, or I played ASMR on the way there to comfort me, but it was draining my battery with, you know, using the map at the same time, so I had to go back without nothing, and just, you know, my own kind of thoughts, and, yeah, I felt alright, you know, I felt in control after a while, and then when I got, like, closer and closer, I felt more confident, and then I made it eventually, and yeah, I'm glad I did, because I couldn't take it anymore by the end. Again, that feeling of just like weakness overcame me by the end of it. So 6 miles in total on rough terrain, dragging 100 pound of stuff, 100 pound plus. You know, the wagon is heavy in itself. It's like at least 30-40 pounds. So never again. And yeah, so then I changed my clothes, and then a guy, while I was almost starting to change, came with his dog and almost caught me, so I had to like wait till he walked in the trail and then showers, dry everything outside from the damp in the morning, and put everything back in place, and then it was just a lot, guys. You know, I felt renewed after the shower, and then I had to go do other things. It was a long day last night, and tiring. I had to go do all this laundry, 3 loads of laundry, and then finally get some sleep. I went to bed early last night, got a lot of sleep, and here this morning, still kind of a little worn out from the trip. I can still feel soreness, and maybe an ounce of tiredness, but like good overall thing going back home. And yeah, it's that feeling of wanting to go back home. I still wanted to stay though because I love nature, and it was just sometimes sitting there like along the trail, like enjoying what's around me, because I'm like, I know I'm not gonna do this again, you know, anytime soon at least. So yeah, it taught me really basically survival. You know, sometimes you have to learn to survive on your own, even if you feel spoiled and you have all this crap with you, you know. So yeah, that's all, guys. That's my story of my camping trip. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to